It is Wednesday, October 30th, 2019. To quickly review from our last update, we were in the process of liquidating the first export of diamonds from Liberia from our Garlow 19 site. This was the first diamond export that we had performed in about 4 years due to the Ebola virus. And we brought the diamonds here to the States, and because we had been out of the diamond market for such a length of time and are just getting back into it, we decided to have American Institute of Diamond Cutting, AIDC, broker the sale for us. This allowed us to leverage AIDC's relationships to get our parcel in front of a lot more buyers than we normally would be able to do. And we ultimately ended up strategically breaking the parcel up into 3 subparcels to see if we could maximize the per carat rate for the various types and sizes of stones that were in the parcel. So those 3 subparcels were a smaller subset of our larger, higher quality stones, a medium subset of just the average medium-sized stones, and then the bulk of the export, which was our 1 carat roughly in size and smaller. So if you remember that parcel, you can go back to the last update when we presented the breakdown of the parcel. The mass majority of that first export was smaller size diamonds. The subset of higher quality, larger size stones was the first subparcel to sell. We sold that to our Chicago buyer that had bought a majority of our 6 previous exports. And while we were shopping around the 2 remaining subparcels, he eventually reached back out to us and said he was interested in purchasing those 2 remaining subparcels so that the entire export would go to him. Historically, he has not bought our 1 carat and smaller stones, so we weren't quite sure what to expect on price offering from him. But for the benefit of the relationship and our ability to work with him moving forward, AIDC shipped the remaining parcels to his office in Chicago so that his diamond cutter could actually view them in person and properly assess the value so that he would know what pricing to offer us for the purchase. At the time of our last update, we had hopes that the process should take no longer than about 2 to 3 weeks for us to conclude the sale and receive our payment in full so that we could go back and liquidate the second parcel that has been waiting for us in Liberia that Ryan and Olivia produced on the wash plant during August and September. For those of you who aren't too familiar with the diamond industry as a whole, those that are involved with the purchasing of rough diamonds, cutting and polishing of diamonds, and the sale of finished goods, a large majority of them are of Jewish heritage. So a large delay that was unexpected was due to the fact that there was 3 major Jewish holidays this October. Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, Yom Kippur, which is Day of Atonement, and Sukkot, which is the Feast of Tabernacles, all in succession and used up most of October. And since our buyer in Chicago is an observing Jew, he was not able to work during these holidays. He was not able to do any banking. He was not able to do any paperwork that was required to facilitate the sale. So it really delayed wrapping up the completion of this first export. It probably cost us another 2 to 3 weeks of time that probably normally would not be necessary to take. So for those that have been reaching out to us the last few weeks asking why there hasn't been another update, that is the only reason why. We weren't able to update everybody until the sale was actually completed and we received payment. So from the first export of our hand-washed goods that we brought here to the States, we ended up selling it for a total of $323,000. after the AIDC brokerage fee of 3%. That is definitely lower than we were anticipating. It's vastly lower than the Kimberly certificate reflects as the evaluation from the Ministry of Mines and Energy. Of course, they want to try to push it up a little higher because that's how they make their tax royalties. But when we go back, we will be discussing with them the rather large discrepancy between their valuation and what the market actually bore. So that will be addressed by Armando. Moving forward, I don't know what the outcome of that will be, but we will let you know as we deal with that. In the overall scheme of things, it doesn't have a huge impact on us since the export tax is only 3%. Probably we ended up overpaying on market valuation to the Liberian government, maybe $6,000 or so, give or take, just off the top of my head. So we will deal with that the best we can. That's just a normal part of the procedures as we're exporting out of a developing nation. But again, not a huge impact on what we're doing. The markets are definitely down on this first export, not just in the States, but globally. This is just a normal cycle. Markets, just like the gold market, is up and down. There's various things that impact it. We will not at this time be strategically stockpiling diamonds, waiting for the market to change. We don't have the benefits of time to be able to do that this early in the process. So as we produce at Garlow Claim 19, we will be exporting as quickly as possible. Right now, it's more valuable for us to have steady cash flow to continue getting back into dry season operations and getting to the point where we can have JV profit payouts as soon as possible compared to whatever hit we will take in the market due to normal fluctuations in the market. Just so everybody knows how we're looking at that. Now, since the last update, dry season has been coming in. The rains persisted a bit longer after the last update, but it got to a point where it was just raining during the evenings. During the day, the sun was out, there was no clouds, and things could dry up during the day. So during this past month, through October, Ryan, Olivia, and our staff there in Liberia have been doing all kinds of dry season prep work. So they've been servicing our equipment so that it's ready to go. And the last 3 weeks, the roads were dry enough that we were able to rebuild 2 of the major bridges going out to Garlow that were preventing us from getting any of our large vehicles out there once they washed out this rainy season. When we rebuilt them, we actually manufactured large round concrete culverts that we placed in the waterway going across the road and then built a bridge over that. That way they will not wash out again in the future. And it will also allow us to take heavy equipment across without the bridge getting crushed. So those 2 bridges are already complete. At the end of this update, I will play a very short little 15-second video that one of our Liberian staff took when our logistics truck, one of our TRM 2000s, crossed the bridge for the first time on its way with supplies to Garlow, and the local community came running out to thank us because any road work that we do, any bridge work we do out in the community that benefits us also greatly benefits the remote communities out there because it allows them to be connected for goods and services, both to sell in town and to also purchase what they need and bring it back to their villages. So they all came running out. They stood in front of our TRM 2000 on the bridge, and our staff took a little short video. So we'll share that at the end. So make sure you see that before you sign off of this update. Now that those two bridges are in place, we can relocate our D6 dozer, which is the one that we just purchased a few months ago from some of the proceeds of our hand washing at Garlow Claim 19. If you remember, we were able to purchase two wonderful pieces of equipment that were greatly needed from hand washing at 19. We bought our Lieber 916 excavator, a brand spanking new excavator that was able to get a lot of work done on the site that had been held up for months due to equipment issues. And then after that, we were able to buy a Cat D6 dozer, which has been really instrumental and is going to really accelerate getting us back into production now that dry season's here. So the D6 dozer is being serviced for dry season right now. It should be done any day. And with both of those bridges being complete, we can now transport it back up to Garlow. We'll take it as far as we can on the trailer, past those two bridges, and into the deeper jungle area, where we will then offload the D6 dozer, and it will track its way the rest of the way, cleaning up the road as it goes. And this will be the first time that we've actually been able to work on these roads during dry season with the proper equipment so that we can get some crowning in the road, some side ditches so it drains properly, so that they should far outlast how they did this past rainy season moving forward. They always get beat up. They always need to be redone every dry season, but they should last much deeper into the rainy season than what we had to deal with this past rainy season. So the goal is to repair the road going into Garlow Claim 19 as quickly as possible. There's probably some minor bridges that we will be rebuilding, but nothing that will slow us down. We'll do those in due process, concurrent with everything else that we're doing. Once the D6 dozer gets to Garlow Claim 19, it will join the 345 excavator and the 916 excavator and our two haul trucks in the work of relocating the Garlow River bypass that currently runs almost down the center of the site. We're going to extend it out to the far perimeter of the site so that we have much more area to chase those deeper pay gravels that are currently in the excavation pit. Back when we were excavating before the rains got too heavy and we started to pull out the tip of those pay gravels, and that's what we stockpiled and ran August, September. We already could see that these gravel lines were making a beeline for where the current river diversion is, and we had pretty much excavated right up to the edge of that. So by relocating the bypass, we'll be able to chase those gravel lines the rest of the way on the property, wherever they may lead. And we will also be extending the upper and lower dams, since those need to be rebuilt as well. And that will give us additional pay gravel excavation area for us to take advantage of. During this process, we will also be relocating the upper and lower dams to further extend the amount of excavation area that we have available to us. While this is happening, we will be pumping out the water that built up in the existing excavation pit during the rainy season. And we have additional 6-inch water pumps that we have acquired to add to the two existing pumps that are on site now to greatly speed up the water evacuation from the existing pit. So once that is complete, we will be able to get an excavator back down where we left off. It'll have to do some cleanup of redeposited soils that got washed in from the Garlow River and from all the rain. So we'll have some cleanup to do in the excavation pit, which should not take us very long. And as quickly as possible, we'll begin excavating out more pay gravels so that wash plant, which is all set to go, It's fully serviced. It'll pick up right where it left off when it exhausted the stockpiled pay gravels in September. As soon as fresh gravels are pulled out, they will immediately go into the wash plant and will pick up right where we left off, producing diamonds. So that is where we're at. We've been working very diligently since the last update. There's been a lot of work happening in Liberia to get us back into this dry season. This dry season is early. Oftentimes, dry season does not come in to the point where we are at now until the end of November and even December at times, by the time that we can get road work done, get site prep complete, and get into production. So we actually have a good month to almost 2 months head start on previous years that we've dealt with in Liberia. So that is a great blessing. We're doing everything we can do to take full advantage of that. So that is where we are at logistically. We are pushing hard so that the wash plant can be washing pay gravels in November. We're going to do that as quickly as possible. We will update you as we're making progress on that. For those that have been with us long enough, you know that it's not possible to set a specific date of production startup. All we can do is get all the logistical steps complete so that we can do it. Fortunately, compared to past efforts, the site is already built. Our wash plant is already installed and operational. It can run tomorrow if we have the pay gravels to put into it. All we need to do is repair the bypass and the dams and pump out the water due to rainy season. So we can do that in short order. We have a lot of equipment, all fully serviced on site, between 2 excavators, a D6 dozer that will arrive soon, and 2 haul trucks. So we have plenty of equipment to handle the work, as well as our 950 loader, which was down most of the rainy season, I believe is now back up and running. And of course, we have our Cat 420 backhoe that can also help with the work. So we have lots of pieces of equipment already on site, moving forward to get us back into production. So that wraps up where we are logistically. As we move back into dry season production for the first time, we're hitting dry season very early. We have the whole dry season ahead of us and everything is functional. So we are in a wonderful place right now as a company. So to wrap up this update, I want to briefly touch on the usage of funds for the first parcel sale and the expected usage of funds for the second parcel sale. The first parcel, which sold throughout September and then finalized in October, the little over $300,000 that we achieved for that first sale went directly back to Liberia for September operations and October operations. Roughly, we have a operating budget that ranges from about $150,000 per month to about $200,000 per month, fluctuation being diesel cost and any unexpected repairs or issues like that with equipment. As we ramp up into this full dry season, we're expecting that monthly operating cost will continue to rise. As we're more productive, we're burning through more diesel as we're running longer shifts on the wash plant and for excavation. We expect to have a lot more heavy equipment running concurrently than we did this past year. Also, when we were running the wash plant during rainy season, many days we were only running it for 4 hours a day due to heavy rains, and we were only running it 4 days a week on average. And some weeks, a lot of weeks, we weren't running it at all. So as we're into dry season, we're expecting every day to be operating long shifts every day. So obviously our costs are going to increase with that. But the benefit of it is that we are expecting increased operations means increased production, much larger volumes of diamonds coming out of the site on a weekly basis compared to what we did this past rainy season. So the little over 300,000 for the first sale basically covered 2 months of operating, September, October. The second parcel we anticipate will not be quite as valuable as the first parcel, primarily due to the fact that the total carat count is just a little lower, and the average stone size throughout the parcel is definitely lower than what was in the first parcel. But it should be fairly close. We're anticipating after we pay the site royalties, the taxes, all the other upfront costs to the parcel, that we should have at least 1 month of operating cost left to cover November. Hopefully, we'll be able to sell it enough that we'll actually have some money to flow over to December operations. But if all goes well, the wash plant should be up and running again already in November and producing enough diamonds that it will cover operating costs moving forward into December. And once the wash plant is back up and running this dry season, we don't expect it's going to take very long to exceed the amount of production needed to cover base operating costs for the month. The second parcel we're liquidating now that we produced during the height of the rainy season, when you actually compress the runtime of the wash plant for what was produced, the actual runtime we could probably actually achieve in 2 to 3 days of dry season, longer extended shifts. So if we can produce $300,000 plus of diamonds in like 2 or 3, 4 days of operating the wash plant, with pay gravels that we were just starting to get to the good stuff, I would expect that it won't take us too long to more than cover operating costs in a day or 2 or 3, and then everything else we produce that month is profit. So, of course, it's all dependent on what is in that excavation pit, and all we can do is process it and extract out all the diamonds possible from that site. So we had excellent results for the little bit we did from this pit in August and September, and the hand washing that we did from the pit just prior to that. So we're looking for an excellent dry season that's already in motion. It will not take us many more weeks, and the wash plant will be up and running again. And once that takes place and we can see what we're producing on a regular basis, we'll be able to start discussing how we're looking for profit payouts. As everybody knows, we are highly motivated to have profit payouts as soon as possible because as principal partners, we don't make anything from this until everybody's made whole. So we definitely are not dragging our feet. We are very diligent and urgent about moving everything forward. And as I discussed earlier, we have in our history never made so much advanced progress this early in a dry season in our history. So we did not lose any momentum through this rainy season. We're picking right up where we left off and pushing the ball forward. So that pretty much wraps up the update for this week. For our next update, there is 2 key items that we need to achieve. The first is the liquidation of parcel number 2, and the second item, the completion of rainy season site repair at Garlow Claim 19 as we transition back into resumption of pay gravel excavation and the running and production of the wash plant. So with those 2 key items already in motion, I don't expect it'll be much longer until we'll be able to send out another update reporting good results on both of those items. So with that, we'll pretty much wrap up this update. As always, we thank everybody for your continued prayers and support. There's no way we could do it without you. And I'll go ahead and play the short little video. So until next time, thank you very much.
You see there? That's the town people. appreciating the officers for the hard work, and we appreciate them so much for the great work that are done. Thanks to the guys.